Hosted by Mike, the Big Cheese.
All right, welcome back to the Heavy Metal Mayhem Radio Show. It is Sunday, October 8th. We're already halfway through the month of October. I cannot believe this, but you know what? We have a great show for everybody tonight. My good friend Bob Mitchell is on. I'm happy to talk to him again because it's been about 6 years since we last spoke on air. I'm sad because it's probably going to be the last time because Bob is retiring from music. After 40 years of giving us countless bands and albums and songs, he's going to pack it in. We'll talk to Bob all about that in about 30 minutes. In about 30 minutes. We're going to feature all Bob's music tonight on the show. We're going to try to get them in order if I can of the years the records came out or the order of the bands in which he was in. But it's kind of hard because there is a timeline we got to follow and there's also a timeline. So I got to try to fit everything before we talk to Bob and then afterwards. So we're going to try to get them in order that each band came out, but it might not happen. So don't call me up later on and say, well, Vindicator came out before Alchemy X and this band came out before then. I'm doing my best to get them on in time order, but I figured it was easy to play a half hour of his music before we talked and then a half hour afterwards, and to keep stopping every 10 minutes in the middle of a conversation to play a song and talk about the song. So we're going to let the music do the talking for tonight, and we'll talk to Bob all about those songs that we played before he came on and what's coming up afterwards. So stick around. All right, right there, Dance of the Crazies from Attacker off their debut record, Battle at Helm's Deep. And if you know me and you listen to the show, I play music off that record all the time. It's one of my all-time favorite albums. And, it's definitely a classic. And one time when we have no guest in the show, I have to line up all my favorite albums and just kind of play them throughout the show. But right there, Attacker. All right, let's kind of stick with the 80s, early 90s before we get to Bob. I'm not going to do too much chit-chatting about the songs of the record because I want to let Bob explain everything to you. So how about we do a little Black Star? I believe that was up next. It was Black Star and Nighthunter were kind of like neck and neck, about a year or so apart. So we'll do some Black Stuff first. We'll follow it up with a little Nighthunter, and then we'll see if we can squeeze in right after that. So how about we do Shadows of May?
Let me go!
I knew I could count on Bob to call in exactly on time. Bob, how are you, my friend?
How are you, my brother?
I am doing great. It's been, I think I said 6 years since you've been on the show, so it's great to have you
Has
on
it been
here.
that long?
It's
Oh,
been, yeah. Well, I thought we were going to have you when the Hounds of Hazavanda came out, but Joe did that interview.
oh, right, right, yeah.
But I'm happy and I'm sad because I'm happy to talk to you again in person. I'm sad because it might be the last time. But like Michael Corleone said, just when I think I'm out, they drag me back in. Maybe in the future it might be more Bob Mitchell music.
Well, I appreciate that sentiment. No, I can tell you, as I've told so many, that I am officially retired, and after all these years of making music, what point do I have to prove? I have nothing to prove anymore. I've done it all, you know, and had a great time doing it. And reflecting back on my career now, I've been very blessed. I really have. I've been surrounded by great musicians, good people, and the best part of the whole thing, Mike, is that I ended my career with a legend. The last thing I ever recorded was the Hounds of Hasselbander album, and my last show was in 2019, November 3rd, in Ohio, and I was fronting the Hounds of Hasselbander then, and we did a Pure Steel Metal Fest, and we headlined the Sunday show. And that was the last time I was on stage, and I'm proud to say that I ended my stage career with a legend like Joe Hasselbander. So where do you go from there?
Well, I'm sure Joe could say the same thing about you. One of his last shows with you was being with the legend, and you have had a legendary career when you think about it, Bob. 40 years in music. I'm saying to myself, I remember in 1985, I believe it was the show place in New Jersey, which is still there. I mean, unbelievable. But seeing Attacker live, a kid in the audience seeing one of his favorite bands up there playing, and now 40 something years later, we're retired. Medical issues have gotten the best of us. We're grandparents. I don't know where the 40 years
Yeah.
has gone, but it's been an amazing run, especially for you. I mean, I just played five of the bands that you've been in. I'm going to get onto the rest after we finish talking, and it's just been incredible. So I mean, I don't. When you talk about music and bands being together, you could talk about a lot of bad things, about a lot of great things. But I just want to do like a little retrospect of your whole career. I don't want to talk about the infights and the bad things that happen with bands. Not the highs and the lows, just where things were at the time, what was going on, and how things came about. Keep it nice and happy because it's a retirement party tonight.
Absolutely. Well, to your point, I have nothing bad to say about anyone. I mean, are we friends? Probably not, but that's show business.
Yeah, it's true. It's the way it goes. But for people that don't know, I mean, let's kind of go back to the very beginning of people. Attacker is where most people know you from the very beginning. But Attacker started as Warlock. I know there was a thing where I guess the German band. I heard that they just asked you politely to change the name because they had the name and the record was coming out. Then there were stories where, they threatened you guys. And that seems to usually be the case with a lot of bands, but it goes from Warlock to Attacker, and there's always been this confusion where people say there was a Warlock demo tape and an Attacker demo tape, but I always thought they were the same thing, just that the timeline of the names kind of crisscrossed.
It it is one and the same. When we
Yeah.
started recording it, we were Warlock, and then by the time we finished it, we changed it to Attacker. Now, the funny thing about that is the suggestion for the name change to Attacker from Warlock came from, he wasn't even our bass player yet, but he was our friend at the time, who later became our bass player, Lou Charlo. He played in Hades,
Yeah.
and he later joined Attacker, and he loved the song Call on the Attacker, so he says, why don't you guys name it Attacker? He said it's a strong name, it really identifies who you will be. And so it was a great call. In the long run, it was a great call, and I tell you, being in that band was a privilege, and no matter how things may have turned out personally, I was blessed to be in that band, and it's nice to know that the voice on the classic is mine.
Absolutely, and I mean, for a lot of people may have known the band for the Metal Blade release when the compilation came out, the Metal Massacre. That was kind of the first thing that a lot of people heard, by the band. But the album comes out. I mean, To me, it's till today. It's my favorite album, one of my favorite albums of all time. Not just by Attacker, but by any band out there. And but how was it for you guys? I mean, you must have been in your late teens, maybe early 20s when the band formed.
I think when I joined, I was 18, 19
Wow,
years old. Yeah.
that
I was
was
a
young.
kid.
Yeah,
So when I did that demo, I was 18, 19 years old. When the album came out, I was 20. So
young.
yeah, I was a kid. I was a baby. So
And when you think about it, a lot of times that you hear so many bands where we formed when we were like teenagers and we got a record deal and the album came out when we were like 18, 19 years old and we broke up a year later. And you say, why? What happened? And a lot of times it's like you said, bands just don't get along. Personalities clash. Sometimes it's like they don't have the right management. They don't think things are going anywhere. But you got to remember, you're 18, 19 years old for a guy. We're still immature at 40 or 50 sometimes. When you're 18 years old,
yes,
there's a lot of
very much
immaturity
so.
there to deal with each other. You don't know how to handle that sometimes.
Well, I tell you, I was no angel. When I left the band in the '80s, I was no angel. I mean, but then again, we just weren't getting along. So I just reacted to the way I was being treated, and perhaps it wasn't the correct decision, but it was my decision, and I stand by it. And it couldn't have been that bad because I wound up having a great career anyway.
That you did. I mean, everybody wishes there was more after that record but in a way, before you came on, I played something off the first Attacker record for Christian on one hand. This was a Christian Day You Go, one day Dance to the Crazies. But then after that, that's where I get a little confused because like Black Star and Nighthunter were kind of around the same time.
Yeah, when I had left Attacker, I was friends with the guys in Black Star already, and on the side I would jam with them, and we'd have a good old time. And then when I left Attacker, I told them, and they were all excited about it, of course. And so we did a little 3-song demo there, and nothing really came of it, but we did do a lot of shows, and we had a lot of fun. And it ran its course a year later, and that's when Jim and I decided to put together Nighthunter. So.
Jim from Attack also parted ways, after that first record came out. And you guys were a great songwriting team, in my opinion. And when I think about Nighthunter, I'm like, Nighthunter almost felt like a continuation of Attacker. And that was probably because you and Jim were the main songwriters in both of them in a way. And it kind of continued on.
It's funny you mention that. It's funny you do mention that because those 4 songs were supposed to be on the follow-up to the Battle album. But, Jim and I had left, and it never got used until we recorded the stuff. And stylistically, as you pointed out, you could see where, Attacker would have continued had Jim and I had stayed. But, again, I was no angel, and we weren't getting along. And when Jim saw that I was steadfast and not coming back, he left too. So that was it. But those 4 songs would have been on the second Attacker album. So
it would have been an amazing sounding record. I don't know if I'm sure you probably heard the Second Coming Attacker's second record with the other singer. Was anything on that record also stuff that you guys were working on for a follow-up to that record, or was it stuff that you weren't even involved in on that album?
Jim and I wrote 6 songs for that album.
Wow.
But we had left, and so they took it upon themselves to copyright it under the bass player's name. So we couldn't prove that we wrote it or not, but if you play the songs, I can tell you, yeah, Jim and I wrote that, Jim and I wrote that one. But what they did also was they sped up what we wrote, and they made it a thrash album, and I didn't really care for it that much.
Yeah. Well, with Black Star and Nighthunter being back-to-back, like I said, and Black Star kind of running its course, and I guess the same thing happened to Nighthunter, when do you feel like a band has run its course? Where do you say to yourself, we're writing these songs, we're recording stuff, we're doing some live shows, but it's just not going anywhere? I mean, is it hard to say, like, let's just pack it in and just, go our separate ways, try something different? I mean, when do you feel like a band has run its course in your mind?
It was a mutual thing with Nighthunter, particularly. I mean, we did the 4 songs, and we went out and we played, and because Jim and I had a built-in audience with the Attacker fans, it was easy for us to get a lot of shows and play out. And we had a great run, but it was Jim's decision to call it a day because he felt, well, in his words, he said, we did these songs and nobody's interested, no label wants us. Why should we play out and kill ourselves? So he decided to call it a day with Nighthunter, and that was really it. But we were doing good. I mean, during the time of Nighthunter, we played with Twisted Sister and American Angel. And the last show we did, we headlined the Bayonne Music Festival. And it was after that he decided, you know what? I'm not killing myself. Nobody's interested. I'm like, Jim, give it some more time. He said, no, it's been 2 years. At that point, it was 1989.
Yeah.
So he decided he didn't want to continue, and I wanted to keep on singing. So I joined Sleepy Hollow that year. So for me, it was a continuation. The way I see it, this is show business, and I never told anyone excuse me, I can't even talk. I never told anyone that I'm a metal singer. I tell people I'm an entertainer. I take pride in the fact that I am an entertainer. So whatever platform I'm allowed to use to be an entertainer, that's what I'll do. And, so I went to Sleepy Hollow. We had a fantastic run with that band. And then by 1992 or 93, that ran its course. So based on the suggestion of a friend of mine, I got into ring announcing. So I became a ring announcer for professional wrestling from 1993 to 1999. And I had a great run with that, and it was in 2000 when I got back into music. So,
and you kept it going. And you talk about being an entertainer, and we come up from a generation where you went to a rock show. It was more than just 3 or 4 or 5 guys getting up on stage, playing songs, and walking off. There was an entertainment value to it, no matter what the bands did or how they did it, whether it was through the stage show or theatrics like Alice Cooper. It's show business. Is really what it is in the end. It's the music business, but it's show business. And when you start a band, and now it's the early '80s, heavy metal is really kind of unknown, and it's just starting to take off. It's coming out of the hard rock scene of the '70s. How do you say to yourself, I'm a singer, but I'm also an entertainer. Now, how do I mix the two together to put on a performance for people?
It's an easy transition. I mean, when you're an entertainer, what do? You make
Entertain.
an ass out of yourself for an hour in front of an audience. So that's what I did. It just happened to be with a heavy metal band. I mean, I started singing hard rock and metal just to fit in, and I started in 1977. I was 12 years old.
Wow.
So, yeah. And by the time I joined Warlock, I had about 6-7 years experience already. And, it's entertainment. That's all it is. Too many bands, they take themselves seriously, and they kill themselves and they knock themselves silly writing songs where it's like me, I'm like, hey, just give me a song and I'll go out and do what I can with it. And that's basically what I've done for all these years. I've had fun. I love to entertain, and I love being a singer, obviously, but at the end of the day, when you're in this profession, you're here to entertain. You're here to make people forget their problems. I mean, I don't want to go see a band and be reminded how messed up things are. I just can't get into that.
I couldn't agree more. I don't want to go to a show and hear about somebody's politics or somebody's beliefs on something going on. Well, I just want to escape from all that. To me, that was the whole point of music, is escape from reality and to take yourself into another world. And one thing about your writing over the years is that, there's this big element of fantasy and, in your music, and it just kind of transports you to a different place and time. And as a kid, because like you said, you started singing when you were very young. I mean, was singing and something that you always wanted to do as a kid, or to just come out of nowhere one day and say, hey, you know what? I can sing, and I'm going to, because you had probably one of the most unique voices in the metal community.
Thank you so much for that. I became a singer for one reason, Dean Martin.
Yeah, okay, Dino.
He's the reason I wanted to be a singer, and anybody that's followed my career, they know this. One day I was watching the Dean Martin show with my grandfather, and it was the first time I'm watching him, and as I recall the episode, he was sitting on a couch, surrounded by women,
Yep.
and he sang beautifully. Mike, he sang beautifully. So I'm looking at him and I'm going, "Oh my God, I want to be him." Now, really, who didn't want to be Dean Martin? You got a good voice, nice-looking guy surrounded by women. Who don't want that?
Not many people.
Who's going to tell me that's not rock and roll?
You're absolutely right. We grew up the same way because that was the stuff that was played in my house all the time, and that's what I grew
Yeah.
up with. And one of the things I love about your post every weekend is like what you and your family do on Saturdays and Sundays. And it reminds me of when I was a kid, where we'd have Abner Costello on a Sunday, and then have Sunday dinner, and all the great classic crooners of the '60s were playing on the radio for my parents, from Louis Prima to Dean Martin to Frank Sinatra, to Almond, all of them. It was just a great time. When you post about that, I'm like, you know what? I go, he's living that life in his house every day.
It's not a put on. This is the stuff I still listen to throughout my entire career, even during the early days of Attacker. When I went home, I put on Dean. Those are the guys I listened to. They're the reason why I wanted to be a singer. I wanted to be an entertainer and do what I can with the abilities I was given by God. And thankfully, I had a great run. And but I tell you, Mike, there's no greater accomplishment for me than becoming a father. That was the best. And more recently, becoming a grandfather and ultimately surviving the stroke I had. I mean, talking to me now, you can't tell I had one.
No, I mean, look at the picture. It was an amazing recovery. And a lot of people aren't fortunate enough to get as far as you have in the kind of short amount of time that you've done it. So thank God that, you where you are, and everything's gone the way it happened. There's a reason for it, I believe. There's a reason for everything that happens to us in life, and God had other plans for you. So that's a good thing. But I'm glad that you're feeling better and you're looking and sounding great these days.
I feel fantastic, and I feel very blessed. And I tell you, Mike, I'm closer to my fans than I've ever been. The great thing about having a stroke is it didn't stop me. It slowed me down, okay? And it made me realize all I've done in my life, and I've done a lot of great things, and I've done a lot of wonderful things with a lot of beautiful people. And I can look back and appreciate it now, When you're in the moment, you don't think about it. But when you have the opportunity to look back, that's when it's the best. The rewards are the best. Because I get to look back now and reflect on everything. I get to talk to you. I've done so many interviews just this year alone, and I'm looking forward to more.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot more coming, especially with these new releases. We'll get to a little later when we kind of get up to that. I'm trying to do like in a timeline for everybody, like the bands that you're in, but it's kind of hard because I'm trying to squeeze in like 8-minute songs or 4-minute songs before you come on, and so they get a little mixed up there. But most people that know your music, know where things are. But I left off at Vindicator before you called in. That's the last thing I was playing. But we were just talking about Sleepy Hollow, and I remember when the Sleepy Hollow music came out, and then when people were talking about the House of Hasselvander a few years back when you joined Joe in that lineup of the band, the new lineup of the band, people like, I don't know, Bob doing doom metal, and he's a power metal singer. I'm like, did you ever listen to Sleepy Hollow? I was saying to myself, because it's power metal, but there's doom metal also in there, and I thought Sleepy Hollow had a lot of doom in it.
Yes, absolutely we did. We were influenced by Black Sabbath, Solitude Eternus, and I love doom. I think that's my favorite genre of metal is doom. I'm into bands like Trouble, and Pentagram is my number one band. So why not? Why not? We had
I don't
a great
blame you.
run with Sleepy Hollow, and I did a lot of doomy type of stuff, with Sleepy Hollow. And when I was able to play with Joe, that was the ultimate for me. What I loved about playing with Joe was this. He gave me the music, and he also gave me complete freedom to write the lyrics as I wanted and sing the way I wanted to. He had no input on that aspect of it. So he just let me be me, and he liked it. I loved it, and I think we did a pretty nice record together. So
Oh, that was a tremendous album that came out. I think it was 2021 it finally came out, Another Dose of Life. And
yes,
man, that
it
was such a
did.
solid record. I mean, I love it from start to finish. And Joe's another great guy who's been on here a lot of times. And
Yeah,
drummer, guitar play. He also had his own medical problems going on with the drums. He couldn't play the drums no
yeah.
more. And as we getting older, these things are happening to us. It's sad, but as long as we keep going, that's all that matters.
But what's great about Joe, he's got a tremendous body of work. You could look back on anything he's done, from Pentagram to Blue Cheer to Raven to the Hounds. The guy's done it all, and who wouldn't want to be in a band with him? I was honored to do that with him, and it's a hell of a way to end a career. I love it.
Yeah, it was a great record. It is a great swan song of an album. But Bob, talking about we were talking about Vindicator. That came out I think
Yeah.
around 2002. I want to say somewhere in that
Yes,
time
it did.
frame. And when that comes out, like when these bands come up, or either whether you're starting them on your own from scratch, or maybe you're joining a project already starting and turning it into a band. I mean, how does it come about? I mean, how did Vindicator come about?
Vindicator was from scratch. The way it actually started was back in 2000. I put a lineup of together for to go out and play attacker music, and we called ourselves Attacker. And then the other original guys, they were against that, so we stopped. And but we wanted to stay as a band. We were doing really good, and so we started writing some originals, and somebody came up with the name Vindicator. I can't recall who just yet. Oh, I know who. It was King Fowley. He came up with the
Oh,
name
okay.
because his band October 31, they played with Attacker when I had that lineup, that foul lineup, and but we had a great show, and the band that I had that became Vindicator played the Attacker stuff so brilliantly. So it was only right to start a band and be, with
Yeah,
a
no.
different name and have a nice run with it. So we did that. It was a great time.
Yeah, I had forgotten all about that. I think it was in the late '90s that you were going to redo Attacker again with a different. I think Rollo was a part of it. Rob, I think John. These guys were in Denim
Yep.
and Leather with you. Also, someone played with you in Denim
Yeah.
and Leather, the tribute band. And I remember that. But then a few years, then it kind of like didn't hear nothing about it anymore. It kind of faded away. Do you think if you were still together using the Attacker name, you would have recorded the music that became Vindicated Music as an Attacker
Oh,
record?
I think so. Yes, but like I said, the other guys that comprised the original lineup, they were against that. At first, they were like, "Yeah, go ahead and do it," and I guess they didn't think I would pursue it full time, But we were getting on a roll there for a while, and we were getting a lot of shows, and we played a couple of festival dates too. And when they saw it was getting serious, that's when they put the kibosh on it. So
Yeah.
we became Vindicator from that point.
And I think if I'm correct, I want to say around that point in time it was probably just Mike Sabatini and Pat because I believe Jim Mooney had already passed away around 2000,
Jim had
2001.
passed away, but Jim would have been with me. So
I think so. I know. I think it would have happened. But that lineup did get back together. That Attacker lineup did get back together without Jim because he was already gone. And he did record those two follow-up records, which were two solid albums. But they kind of came
yeah,
out at a time when metal was just starting to get its footing again, and people were just starting to get back into it, and a whole new audiences was coming into play. Did you think that lineup would have lasted, or if maybe that lineup had gotten back together at a different point in time, it might have turned out differently, or was it just meant to be doomed towards the end anyway?
it was great at first, but it's we did the Soul Taker album, which was great. And we did the Unknown, which was great. And what I love about the Unknown is I got to co-write with my childhood friend Mike Benetatis on that album. He knew me before I even started singing. So to be on a record with Mike Benetatis and co-write an album with him was a great honor, and he's a hell of a musician. I remember when he started, his father got him his first guitar. It was an acoustic guitar, and there was a kid on our block who already knew how to play, and he taught Mike some chords, and Mike just went from there.
Yeah, Mike's an amazing guitar player and songwriter. And he's also one
He
good-looking
is.
son of a bitch too. He's a handsome guy.
Yes, he always was. He was always a handsome kid
Yep.
and a nice kid. He's I have no issues with him at all. He's a great guy. I love the guy, but he made his choice and he chose his loyalty. So what are you gonna do?
That's the way the business works sometimes. But the unknown comes out, the last Attacker record with you fronting the band again. Did you kind of see the writing on the wall as that album was coming out and that time period started taking place? That here we go again, and it's just going to end after this.
Yeah, a lot of the BS crept up again. So I'm like, you know what? Before it gets bad, let me get out of here. So right before the Keep It True show that we did in 2008, I said to them, I'm done. They were like, why? I said, well, no, it's creeping up again. Can't do this again. I got to go. But I kept my commitments. I did the Keep It True show, and that was the last time I performed in Europe. That was in 2008. So
It was a while ago. This is
yeah,
all it is. You don't let any dust settle down, Bob. You go right from one thing to another, and you keep yourself
yeah,
busy and active, and everything sounds familiar because it's your voice, which is, like I said earlier, so unique and distinctive. But yet each band is so different from one another. And then I want to say it was Mind Assassin was the next thing that popped up after Attacker the second time around.
yeah. That's correct. No, actually, it was Sleepy Hollow again. We did the Skull 13 album. We had a fantastic run. It culminated at Rocklahoma in 2014. And then after that, I got into Mind Assassin.
Was that your first time working with Joe? Because Joe Hasselvander was a part of that for a while too.
Yes, it was. Yeah, Joe and I became friends when Sleepy Hollow opened for Raven a couple of times. So Joe and I became good friends, and then I asked him, would you do the Mind Assassin record with me? And he said, you should. Absolutely. So he did that, and then it was during that time, and he says, hey, I want you to be my singer, for the Hounds, whenever you can. And I agreed back then in 2014-15 to do that with him. So he played on my Mind Assassin record, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think that was his final performance as a drummer, because we had to wait for Joe to finish the Raven record he was doing at the time. So I think this one here with Mind Assassin was the last time he played drums on an album, and I'm honored by that. His final performance as a drummer was on my record, so I love it.
That's great. And like I said, because so many bands you've been a part of, they formulated at one point in time, but then it might have been years later when a record came out, but you also had something else going at the same time or in between that,
Right.
and that was like something that carried on. And I remember, like I said, I thought it was Mind Assassin, but it was Sleepy Hollow. The record came out first before the Mind Assassin record. Then there was Alchemy X and Scepter that all came out around the same time. You were very busy during that decade,
It
from
was,
2000
yeah.
to 2015. You were,
2008, I did 2008 after I left Attacker. I did the Scepter single for them. They asked me to do it, and I said sure. So I did it in a studio here. Well, not here. Well, when I was living in New Jersey, I did it over there. And then the Scepter single came out, and that did very, very well. And I think a lot of it had to do with because I just come out of Attacker. I was fresh off of it, So people were very interested in that. So I did the Scepter single. Then Sleepy Hollow reformed. We did Skull 13. That ended 2014 for me. Then it was Mind Assassin. And after Mind Assassin, it was Savior from Anger. They were an Italian band. And let me think now. After that, what was after that? I think that was it. No, there was more, but
there's Alchemy X.
Alchemy X was 2003.
Okay, that's a little early on.
Yeah.
So as I was saying,
And
even I'm getting confused. There was so many things. I'm losing track, and I'm just going by memory. I don't even write nothing down.
That's all right. I am too. Which is another great thing about my stroke. I didn't lose my memory.
Thank God. That's an important thing to have. I know there are some things in life you want to forget, but it's good to remember most of the other things.
Yeah. Well, I still remember the rent, unfortunately, but that's all right.
Yeah. But you talk about Save You from Anger and Scepter. Italian band, I believe Scepter was from Germany was a
Yes,
German band.
that's right. After Savior from Anger, it was Scepter. So
Yeah. Did you ever think at a time, if you go back to the 80s when you're a kid from New Jersey and you're playing with the local bands like a Warlock and Attack or other bands, that somewhere down the road you'd be playing with international bands and you'd be able to do it by not even living in the same country as those bands?
no, of course not. You
It's
don't think
crazy.
those things. You just kind of move along and hope for the best, and whatever falls on your lap, if it looks good, sounds good, you go for it.
True. How does that work with like Scepter and Savior from Anger? I mean, you're not there to rehearse with the band. You're not there to practice with them. And really, you don't even have to do that anymore these days with, computers and technology. But do you feel like there's something missing when there's no personal interaction between the band? Or do you say to yourself, that's the best thing in the world, not to be around the other guys?
I'm a huge advocate of the personal interaction. However, if you're professional enough, you can rehearse whenever you see the guys and have a good session. When you do something for as long as I have, I didn't need to be around the band. Just send me the music, I'll write the lyrics, and I'll sing it, and I'll go to a studio, record it like you guys are there.
Yeah.
And I'll rehearse the stuff on my own here at home, so if there were to be shows, I would be prepared.
True. And that's the difference between, a bunch of kids playing in a garage band and a professional musician, because you don't have to rehearse 5 days a week. You don't have to go over songs over and over again. You could get into a room with a bunch of guys in one time and kind of work out all the kinks right there in an hour or two and have a set ready, have a song done. That's what the professionalism comes in with being a musician then compared to a bunch of guys playing
Right.
together. They can live in the same block with each other, play every day, but they got to rehearse over and over again to get it just right. Where, when you're professional, you don't have to do that.
I agree. Well, for me, the key to everything is to rehearse, is to practice, is to keep on it. If you have a craft, you have to execute it as much as you can. You have to stay on top of it. And that was the key to my thing. I'm a big advocate of rehearsals, big advocate of practicing and going over stuff. When they did the Savior from Anger album, they weren't here. They were in Italy. But I rehearsed enough that when we finally got together, it's like we've been together for years and years.
Yeah.
So that's the key to it all. If you're good at your craft, you continuously practice at it. It's like being a doctor. That's why they call it a practice. You keep going. You keep going.
That's very true, Bob. Very true. And you've kept going and you've kept busy all these years. And I think about it, 1980s, New Jersey, New York, people always talk about the metal scene, and they talk about California and they talk about New York. Those are like the two, hot scenes, the East Coast and the West Coast. They had the hair metal and the glam metal and the thrash metal going on out in California, up north and down in LA. And we had a great scene over here, but they always say New York, New York, New York. And Lemoore was a major club back then. Every artist played at Lemoore in Brooklyn when they came through town. You had a couple of clubs in Manhattan, not as many. There was still a lot of dance clubs going on, but New Jersey. I mean, when you think about New Jersey, to me, that was really the rock and metal capital, I think, of the whole world. I mean, there was so much going on out there, whether it was the show place or, what was it, the China Club, and there were so many other places out there, but the amount of bands and musicians that came from New Jersey, I mean, it was just incredible in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, it's obscene, the talent that was in that state. I mean, you see the bands nowadays, you'll never see the level of talent that we had back then.
True.
Never. The problem with bands nowadays, they don't work on their look, they don't work on their sound, and they're not entertainers. They're really not. I mean, when we were going to clubs back in the old days to the Soap Factory, we saw Twisted Sister with T.T. Quick.
Yeah.
The great thing about those two bands is, as great as they were as musicians, they were entertaining. You never forgot the show because they were so good,
Yeah.
we had bands like Black Lace, who had a beautiful fronted female singer.
Marianne.
Marianne, yeah, she was fantastic. She was a nice girl too. I remember
Yep.
meeting her. She was so nice. They all were, but they were highly entertaining as well. But you don't see that no more. I've seen local bands, and they go on stage in sweatpants and these stretched out T-shirts, piercings, tattoos, and they have no entertainment value. And it's like you're playing in a low D. The singer's not even singing; he's screaming and growling, and you're not drawing the women.
Well, that's what it is. You went to the show. When bands like
That's the
Metallica
bottom
broke,
line. Listen,
yeah,
I got into this for two reasons: money and women.
yeah,
And anybody who tells you otherwise, they're full of it.
yep.
That's why everybody got into a band back in my day, and they should now, but they don't.
Well,
Money
it's a different
and
world now
women.
too, Bob. You know that it's a whole different business now. It's not like that.
I know it's changed.
I mean, listen, I remember all the heavy bands from the days I loved, like Venom and Merciful Fate and Slayer and Metallica. And you go to those shows and it was a sausage fest. There was nothing but guys packed wall to wall.
Right.
But then when bands like Motley Crue came out and they were wearing the makeup and they had the big stage shows, the girls started showing up. Bon Jovi, the girls started showing up. And
I tell you what, a lot of girls back in the day, they loved Tom Araya.
yeah.
And they loved Dave Mustaine.
No, it's true. They came around. It took a little while, but they all came
And
around.
they thought Kirk Hammett was cute. So, I mean, you can draw. Manowar drew tons of women. So, I mean, but they were entertainers, They went out of their way to make sure they looked the part and they sounded the part. And, that's what you want, because where the girls go, the guys go.
I know, absolutely true, and you're right. Manowar were entertainers. I mean, since for that 45-minute Kabuki intro, kind of killed me every show. But they were coming
Yeah, I remember that.
they came out, and they put on an amazing show. But yeah, you're right. That's the way it was back then. Twisted Sister, come out with the chain link fences in the background, and everything hanging from them. It was like a street scene, and they always say there are lead singers and there are frontmen. There are very few that are both. Like Dee Snider may not be the greatest technical singer in the world, but he was some frontman. And I remember the first time I saw them, like 82, 83, and the guy at the door was like, listen, if you're going to stand at the front of the stage, you're not headbanging and jumping around, Dee will point you out, call you out, and embarrass you in the crowd. I was like, oh, man. I went and stood at the back of the club that night because I was terrified, as a kid. But that's it.
He did it, too.
He did it, yeah.
He
He would call you right out and have the audience turn against you.
Right. But, like you said, the business has changed. It's not about entertaining anymore. I don't know why, but it's just not.
Do you think it's a money issue where bands just don't want to invest the money into the stage? I mean, how many local bands, look at Overkill. Overkill's put on this big, humongous show, and they were just starting up as young guys. And a lot of bands didn't have the money back then, but they made it happen,
Right. If you want it, you go get it. I think nowadays it's just laziness. Just laziness. That's what it boils down back to. Back when we started, we worked hard. We wanted to look the part and sound the part and whatever. It's just lazy, just plain lazy,
Yeah.
And that's all it is. I mean, it's not to say that they have no talent. Of course, they have musical talent. There's a lot of great musical talent, but there's no personality and there's no entertainment value. So it's like, like the lead singer looks like my school teacher. Who wants to see that? You know what I mean? Like, well, what is that? Come on. Don't you want to look like a singer? Like, what happened? How is it that singers nowadays don't want to look like a young Roger Daltrey or a Robert Plant or a David Coverdale? That's what you should aspire to look like when you're a singer.
I think because a lot of them don't know the history. They don't know about these bands. They don't know about that time.
It's a shame. It's a shame. A lot of these younger bands, they don't have any knowledge of our history. But there's also a lot of veteran bands that are not encouraging the younger bands or nurturing the younger bands or giving them some sort of guidance.
True. I say that all the time. You know, when you're a baseball player, there's a farm league, and you go to the farm team, and they nurture you there. They grow you into a professional player. You
Right,
know, there was like record labels had A&R reps where they kind of found people, found bands that were young, and they nurtured them, and they brought them up through the
right,
system, and they turned them into the next Scorpions and Metallica and AC/DC.
exactly.
That's
But a
missing.
lot of it has to be self-wanting. If you want to be that, you will be that. But you need the guidance to do so, and there's no such thing nowadays.
Do you remember as a young musician? We'll go to Attacker. Were there any
Hmm.
bands that kind of helped you out along the way, or bands that you kind of counted on, like to guide you through the scene or to show you the business? Because a bunch of young guys getting into a band for the first time, 84, 85, Metallica's Ride the Lightning comes out. The whole scene started to explode at that time. So you have a lot of labels that are taking interest in, all the local bands trying to nurture them. Was there anybody that you felt like really kind of guided you personally, or the band as a whole?
Oh, there was a ton of people. I mean, there was so many great musicians back then that, that would be like, this was good, but don't do this and don't do that. And that's what bands need nowadays. We had that back then. Yes, there were so many, especially with the veteran bands. You know, I can't name anyone in particular, but there was a lot of great musicians that would come see our shows or would give us a critique on what we should and should not do. So, and that was great because it helped. It did help a
Yeah.
great deal. And sadly, we don't see that no more. I would love to do that. Now that I'm retired, especially, I would love to do that. But the thing is, are they going to listen to what I have to say? I don't think so.
It's a generational thing. I mean, you were with Pure Steel
Hmm.
Records for a while, kind of in that capacity.
Yes, yes.
Uh, So, I mean, how did you feel when you were doing that? I mean, were there any bands you felt that you gave that chance to kind of help them out if you could?
Absolutely. There was a bunch of them, especially there was a band called Last Pharaoh. They were fantastic,
Yeah,
and I love those guys. And so I recommended them, and there was a whole bunch of other bands that I recommended, and some had success, some sought it and got it, and others just didn't. And that it's not the label's fault. My thing is this: it's kind of like recovering. If you want to recover, you will. If you don't, you just won't. But you gotta want. Everything begins with self. It really does. You know,
true.
whether it's healing, whether it's success, whether it's raising a family, it begins with self. If you want to do it, you will do it. If you expect others to do it for you, guess what? Nothing.
Yeah, no, you're right. Absolutely right.
Nothing.
Absolutely right. Bob, the last 2 years has been kind of, a lot going on with you with, the medical issues and other stuff like that. But the big
Hmm.
things were that we heard that the Nighthunter music is finally going to come out, and there was going to be this
Yeah.
Unearthed album, really digging deep into stuff that I don't think most people, even that were fans back in the day, might have heard. Never mind the newer kids that have gotten into this music. Two big albums, and I mean, how did this come about?
Well, I'll tell you, after I had my stroke, I had all this extra music lying around, and I didn't know what the heck I was going to do with it. I'm like, nobody's going to ever hear this music, and this is sad. And then one day I was introduced to Aaron Tom from Dark Age Records. And, we're friends on Facebook, and we're chatting back and forth. And then I said, I got all this music just laying around doing nothing. And he said, do you want to put it out? I said, I would love to, but, how do I go about it? And he says, we'll do it. He said, you don't have to worry about a thing. And then I brought up the Nighthunter stuff, and he jumped right all over it.
Yeah,
And he put the word out that Nighthunter was finally coming out. And based on that, he decided to put it out as a standalone release. So in addition to it being on the Unearthed collection, it's also a standalone release. and he decided to use the attacker angle, as a selling point, which was smart, and that's what he did. So when the release date was announced, which was August 25th, before it came out officially, both titles were sold out.
Yeah.
With the exception of Unearthed, there was about 15 copies left. But for the most part, gone. And I tell you, Mike, it's a hell of a way to retire. I didn't think people would care. I didn't think people would want this. But boy, was I wrong.
Oh hell yeah! I mean, especially the Nighthunter stuff, because that was so. I mean, not that any of this wasn't good, but I remember that, and I remember how great it was. And when you have all this music that kind of like disappears over like the decades, and you finally get to hear it again.
Right.
And they remaster a lot of it. I mean, I played the original Black Star demo before you came on. I didn't play from the remastered cut from now. I played the demo that I had from back then. And the Nighthunter, I played Rage and Fist, which wound up being on the Soul Taker record, the Attacker record, when you put that back together. So I don't know if that was like a little jab saying, hey, you know what, this is what you guys could have had, in 1987.
Well, you know what? You take it the way you want it. I mean, it could have been the second record, but it was decided that it was not to be, and so now it's a Nighthunter record. And the beautiful thing about it is that Jimmy and myself are immortalized yet again.
And more importantly, I know Dark Age kind of like merged with Cult Metal Classics, and they're going to release this now on vinyl also. So that's a beautiful thing, and I cannot wait for the vinyl version of these records to come out.
It's going to be great. I mean, another thing that solidifies my friendship with Jim Mooney is that he and I will once again be immortalized on vinyl. So it's a great honor, but
it's a beautiful thing indeed.
It really is. I mean, I just wish he was here.
Yeah, he died young. I think he was like 41, 42. He died really young.
He was 42 years old.
42 years old, like a whole lifetime gone. 20-something years already.
Yes. He would have still been with me, I know it.
I think so. I think you guys would have still been making music together.
Absolutely. He was the greatest songwriting partner I have ever had, and I've had a lot of great ones.
You have.
Yeah.
Who else would you put up there with Jim? I mean, if it wasn't him, who else would you say you feel like you had the best working relationship with as far as songwriting goes? Not just being in a band, but, writing music together.
I would say Joe Hasselvander.
Yeah.
Steve Stagg with Sleepy Hollow. Todd Lang with Scepter. Ken Randisi with Mind Assassin. Trying to think. Oh, Rob Oriani with Vindicator. I've had some great partners. I really have.
Yeah.
Jim was my first, so you don't forget your first.
That's right. You never do. But on the Unearthed record is Wicked Sin. I think a band that kind of like fell through the cracks. Not a lot of people heard it, saw anything about it. Want to say 2010, 2011 maybe it came out. That thing really disappeared, but it was so good. And how did that not become something bigger?
I tell you, Wicked Sin was a great band, but the guy I wrote the songs with, Ken Orth, he was a great musician, talented guy, knew his way around the studio, but he was a troubled soul.
Yeah.
He had a very bad drinking problem, but doesn't make him a bad person. He was a good guy. I liked him a lot. And, we did our thing, and, he didn't know what to do, so he gave me the two songs that are on the Unearthed collection as my payment. So, and from that point on, I think he disappeared from the music scene. Nobody's heard anything about him ever again. So.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Is there anything?
He was so talented. I mean, it was obscene how good he is.
Yeah, that's kind of like a story as old as time, right? All these people that they burn themselves out on different things, one thing or another, and it's like in like a Bronx Tale, wasted, nothing said than a waste of talent.
Oh, that's so true. It's such a fact of life.
And that's what happens. But I mean, is there anything else that you can unearth, or have you just kind of put it all out there now?
Everything that um, is featured on Unearthed and the Nighthunter standalone. Now that is everything I've done.
Amazing. What a great
That's
career and what a great output, Bob. It's just been amazing.
fans should have everything I've ever done, and there's really nothing more. So
That's all that matters. But I'm going to let you go in about 5 minutes because we got about a half hour left in the show, and I got about 6 or 7 more of your bands I want to play. I want to make the show all about you tonight. We're not playing nothing else unless it's Bob Mitchell on there. And
I
it's
appreciate that
and
so
Bob,
much.
it's been my honor to be your friend all these years and to have you on my show so many times. And maybe we'll do this
Same
again
here,
one
man.
day. You can have maybe you'll be like the next Jimmy Roselli. Maybe you'll start doing some other stuff.
You know what? You mentioned Jimmy Roselli. I got to tell you about Jimmy Roselli. He and I we're from Hoboken, right?
Yeah.
And when I was young, he was sort of my mentor. You know. He told me. He says, "Listen, why are you cursing at these people?" He saw me play. He came to see me play one time. He says, "Kid, why are you cursing?" He says, "Don't. People pay money to see you. Don't curse at them. You don't need to do that." He says, "You're good and you're talented. Stick to it. Don't curse." And I didn't. So he gave me a lot of advice on show business and how to conduct myself and how to be respectful. Also, he told me, "Listen, you've got a great talent, but always make money. Keep a job. Don't rely on show business for a living." He says, "Keep a job and you're going to do fine." And you know what, Mike? That's the best advice I ever got, because even though I was crazy, crazy busy with music, I always kept a job.
Yeah, you have to these days.
Throughout my whole career, I was a housekeeping supervisor for 14 years. I worked as a nurse for 17. I worked as a floor person in a warehouse for 5 years. But during that whole time, I kept a music career, and I raised a family, and I've had a wonderful music career, and a big body of work that people can listen to for years to come. And I survived this stroke, and now I can look back and enjoy it all. And if any young bands need advice, you can come to me, and I'll help you out as much as I can.
There you go, Mentor Bob. Well, Bob, last week I had said to you, pick out a song that you feel the kind of defines your entire career or sums up everything that, music means to you and that kind of general thing. I asked out of quite a few artists over the years and I can't pick nothing out. You were very quick to come back with a song, which means that song has to really be important to you. So do you want me to say the name of the song or do you want to say it and then tell everybody why you feel that one song kind of defines who you are as a musician and as a singer?
I'll be very happy to answer that. The song is Disciple, and it was the first song that Jim Mooney and I wrote together. Now, the way the lyrics came about was the lyrics was actually a poem that I wrote in high school.
Wow.
And the original title was Bewildered. That's why in the song Disciple you hear bewildered.
Bewildered
so
you are,
much.
yeah.
Right. And the reason why I called it Disciple is because Jim said Bewildered wasn't a metal enough of a title. He says you got to come up with a better title, bro. I said, all right. So I'm reading and I'm looking. And while I'm reading and looking at my lyrics, I'm listening to Deep Purple. So Deep Purple had a song called The Mule. And if you listen to The Mule, Gillan only mentions the mule one time. That's it.
Yeah.
So I took that idea, and I saw the word disciple, and I'm like, disciple. And I decided that's the name of the song. I said, Jimmy, we're calling the song Disciple. He says, cool, that's a metal name, bro. And so we named it Disciple. That's why in the song Disciple, I emphasize on that. disciple come forth. When I sing it like
Yeah.
that, that's the reason why. And it's become a popular song with attacker fans, with metal fans, and I love it. I love it so much. And it's the first song he and I wrote together, and it was the first song I ever recorded for that 3-song demo. Disciple was the first song I ever recorded. And so it's special to me. And looking back now, we're all disciples of metal. We're all disciples of rock and roll. And we're all disciples of show business. So that is the one defining song for me.
And we're going to play that song next before we get to the rest of your catalog. Bob, thank you for 40-something years of music. It's an honor and a privilege to say you're a friend of mine, that you've been on my show so many times. And whatever you do in the future, if you do anything else, I'll be there to support you. If not, enjoy your retirement. Enjoy the time with your family and with your grandson. He's a handsome devil just like you, Bob.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And thank you for all the years of support and friendship on your part. And to all of you listening, I love all of you very much. You've given me a great life, and you've given me a reason to survive this stroke, and a reason to have continued strength. And again, any of you young bands, you need any help, any advice, you can always find me on Facebook. And I don't shut myself out from anyone. I love all of you deeply, and the love I have is real. I got to tell you, Mike, before we go, since my retirement, I have gotten closer to my fans, and I correspond with so many of them, and it's an honor for me to talk to them. They tell me stories of when they saw me play, and to hear that kind of feedback on such a personal level is truly a blessing, and it couldn't get any better. And guys like you and all of the on-air personalities that I've had the pleasure of knowing for all these years and being on their radio programs, it's just a privilege. And the great thing about it is that I have the privilege of going back to any of these shows. I don't necessarily have to promote anything now. I can just go on, have conversations, and have a good old time.
And that's a beautiful thing.
I love it.
We love you too, Bob.
Thank you so much, Mike. I could be the next Pat Cooper. Just show up.
I'm a Luke Harry fan myself, but hey, that's all that matters. Nothing better than
Mike,
bacala.
thank you so much. Oh,
Take care,
nothing
Bob.
better than bacala.
Have a
Thank
great
you so
night, my
much.
friend, and stay healthy and take care of yourself. God bless you.
Thank you, sir.
Bye-bye. All right, here you go, Disciple, Bob's song.
Down, down in the valley below.
been my victims. Blood pours out like wine, quenching my thirst, no mercy.
Wicked Sin with Brute Forces. Man, that was some really good stuff over there. I wish there was a lot more of it. Before that, Scepter with Powerhouse and Alchemy X and Penance. We got about 3 more songs to go. We're going to wrap it up here tonight. We didn't really do any news segments or anything else. There was one thing I wanted to mention. John was just talking about Hell's Heroes next year with Omen, and Agent Steel is also supposed to be on that festival. A band I doubt will show up, but they had canceled the show last month that I had mentioned a few weeks ago, that they have a couple more coming up in November up in Northern Europe and Scandinavia. And then they got a whole bunch of shows scheduled for December in South America. I doubt any of them will take place. You never know. I just said they canceled their appearance. I think it's called the No Speed Limit Festival, another show in Mexico that they canceled. And I actually, it was like a month ago, I think they canceled this show, before the other one, or around the same time they canceled the one in September. Just that the press release announcement was in Spanish, and I could not translate it because it was like on a pre-printed flyer, so it took me forever to figure out how to translate it. So this is what Agent Steel says why they had to cancel the festival. Dear fans of Mexico, I guess this is coming from John Cyrus himself. Dear fans of Mexico, we cannot continue with the promotion of our show in Mexico City, scheduled for October 28, 2023, due to some adjustments in our schedule. Don't know what that means. For everyone's information, the band, I guess this is the way it's translated, so I'm just reading it the way it's translated. It might not be the way it was written, but for everyone's information, the band's return is in a way our last attempt to bring our music to the stage once again. John Cyrus is an older person now, and this is why every move the band makes must be taken carefully, so that his career is not affected and that he remains at the mercy of the detractors who have unsuccessfully tried to bury the band. He's an older person now. I think we're all pretty much in the same age group, in our late 50s right now, so I don't know what he's talking about, and the detractors trying to unsuccessfully bury the band. Agent Steel is currently in the production of a new album, which they did a GoFundMe for a couple of months back, which I never even saw until now. And we have received the offer of an excellent company to help us carry this out. For this reason, and on the contract, we must concentrate on finishing this product and putting the album out before resuming our live performances. But months and months ago, they said that the album was recorded, so now they can't play in October because they're working on the album. We want our fans around the world to have the opportunity to witness a show of excellent quality, so rushing the process does not seem convenient to us, and therefore the date is rescheduled to Mexico City for next April 20th, 2024. And then he thanks all the people that he fucked over. But that's John Cyrus for you. So I doubt that festival will take place. Now, if I'm the promoter putting on this show, I would have just wiped my hands clean with him, knowing that he's canceled countless other appearances, festivals, regular shows. I would have just been done with it. But this is, these promoters don't learn. It's always the same ones. The promoters in Greece and the promoters in Mexico. They're just so die-hard for any kind of shit metal that has 80s on it. They don't care who's in the band or who's playing. It does not matter to them. I got a whole bunch of rants, but I'm not going to do it tonight because I want to focus all on Bob's music. We'll save this for next week. We'll get back to it. Joey DeMario wrote that. That's what it sounds like. Joey wrote it, right? All right, well, let's get back to Bob's music, and then we're going to wrap things up here tonight. Next week, Alex K from Scroll Keepers on tonight. His next week's show, we were supposed to have Elias Soriano from Non-Point on, but we had to cancel that interview. Something came up and I couldn't do it, but we'll try to get that on another time. And we got, I think, one show left to guest this month. Then we're going to do a Halloween show to wrap up the month of October. I'm all confused over here tonight. All right, let's get back to the music of Bob's band. We'll do Save It for Manga. We'll do Mind Assassins, The Hounds of Hasavanda. Then we'll wrap it up with one more attacker tune, and we're going to call it a night. So, Save It for Manga. We were talking about that before. Here's the chosen ones.
When all of the while my blade stabs your soul.
All right, I want to thank Bob for being on tonight's show and taking a stroll down memory lane with me. I do appreciate that. And we featured, I think we got every band on that Bob's been, not every record, but at least one song from every band that Bob recorded, which I'm pretty happy to say we did. Right there, that was the Hounds of Hasselvander. That was such a great record that came out about 2 years ago. You know what it is? It was in the middle of COVID. A lot of these albums kind of fell by the wayside because people had other things, more pressing matters going on in the world. But such a solid record. So if you haven't picked it up, go ahead and pick it up. That was To the Core. All right, let's wrap it up here tonight. Like I said, Alex K from Scroll Keeper is on our show next Sunday night. Don't forget to tune in live. How about we wrap it up with one more Attacker song? We'll do something off of the, let me see, we'll do Soul Taker or The Unknown. We'll do Soul Taker, the first Attacker record since they got back together in 2004. And this is Until We Meet Again. Take care, everybody. Until we meet again. See you next Sunday.
The days pass us in time. I don't want to learn life too late. And then when they are gone, we seem to fill up with self-hate. I could have been there to say my last goodbye. Never knew I cared, but then I never thought you'd die. I wonder